46, verse 10. And I think God had a divine order tonight because everyone's been speaking on trials in our life. But I want to speak on how God can withstand those trials.
Amen. Come on.
And the Bible says in Psalms 46:10, it says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in this earth." So my word is silent. And I feel that a lot of times in our life, the reason trials seem so much harder than they truly are is because we're not listening to God. We think that we can almost handle it ourselves instead of returning to God, but there are other distractions in our lives that are keeping us from doing what we want. I learned one thing in sports is you always got to learn to trust your coach. And this week at the Wilds, you have 3 different teams when you go. And we're playing this one game, and it's pretty complicated, but basically our counselor said, if you just listen to us, you'll win. And I feel that's what God does in our lives. He says, I know you don't understand what's happening. You might not know what's going to happen. But he's saying, I've been here before. I've done that. I've helped you through this. So just be silent. Do what I say. And I'll help you get through it. In Matthew 17, verse 5, it's talking about the transfiguration of Christ. And it's one of the best things as a human you can see. I mean, the honor of being a human to see that would be amazing. And we see that Peter in verse 5, it says, "While he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them. And behold, a voice came out of the cloud, which said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." And we were at the Wilds. Scott Pollard was preaching, and at the very end, he gave an invitation. And he said, I want you to imagine right now, it's just you and God. And we were in a room with about 1,000 people. But at that moment, I just imagined that it was just me and God standing in front of me. And almost just the conversation I was able to have with God, just like, it changed my life in a way, because you can't really explain it.
Yeah.
You can't really explain what it's like to just have a genuine conversation with the Lord.
Yeah.
And you feel so ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
When you do it, you just like, you realize all the sin in your life. And you can't even imagine like, why God will care enough to talk about you. And we see that Peter, even in his life, no one liked Peter, no one liked the Christian. They were always betting, gambling, probably had foul mouths. But yet God chose him for such a moment like this. And we believe that Peter got in his head that, hey, Christ chose me and I'm a follower of Jesus. So that's when he thinks, oh, I have a right idea in verse 4. And he says it, and then Christ and God always just gets in the way and says, hey, Peter, it's not you, it's me.
Amen.
And I wrote in the beginning of my Bible, or in my Bible, I wrote different quotes. One thing I felt like God told me to write was, God never called me to preach. He called me to let him preach in my life. I feel if you ever come to church and a pastor's preaching is wrong, I feel if it's never preaching is wrong, because it's not supposed to be a man that's preaching. It's never supposed to be someone that has a Bible hearing. It's supposed to come from God. That's why when people preach, you can tell how much passion they have about it, because they just genuinely love the Lord. And on the first night we could hear everyone singing, but you can almost tell it's just a bunch of bored and tired teenagers that kind of wanted the service. You can almost get over. But on the last night, you could tell that people's lives had changed. You could tell that people that day had gone through trials in life, they had gone through hard things, but they learned to trust God.
Amen.
And they learned that you can't do anything. You don't have any potential in your life. But God, he takes your vapor and he makes it something that becomes so much more than you could ever use it.
Amen. Good job.